I'm just going to forget that the TV thing's there.
Yeah, you will. After 5 minutes, you relax quite a lot. I do.
I
So.
can't turn that TV off. No, it's kind of good because I need to keep an eye on my posture. Because I'm my mum and family are like...
When building information modelling first emerged, it carried with it a bold promise that we could transform how we design, deliver and operate the built environment. Gone would be the days of disjointed drawings, siloed workflows and inefficiencies. BIM would bring clarity, coordination and a single source of truth, not just for the design teams, but for the contractors, clients and building operators. It was meant to be more than a 3D model. It was supposed to be the foundation for smarter, faster, more sustainable delivery. And yet, over a decade later, many are asking, has BIM delivered on that promise? Or has it stalled, trapped in rigid standards, bloated models and disconnected platforms? Today, as new pressures emerge from net zero demands and digital twins to model-driven delivery and smart cities, the question isn't just what is BIM, it's what should it be next? In this episode, we explore the future of BIM, what's working, what's not, and where the real innovation is happening beyond the buzzwords. Joining me is Mairéad Gallagher Morgan, BIM Lead for Europe and Middle East at Grimshaw Architects. Mairéad is an influential digital design leader, an active regional lead for women in BIM, and a trusted mentor in the industry. With nearly 2 decades of experience across architecture, information management and digital strategy, she has dedicated herself not only to evolving BIM practice, but also to support diversity, inclusion and the next generation of digital talent. Mairéad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a lovely intro.
Good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Well, look, I thought we'd start this podcast by going back a bit and understanding what first got you excited around BIM. And, you know, you've been in it 10 to 12 years. Has your opinion changed over time?
Big question.
Yeah.
So I studied architecture and worked in architecture for quite some time. I was very fortunate to work on the UK BIM framework back in 2013 with an amazing man actually called Kevin. And he really was someone at the forefront that was pushing all the boundaries. Mike Turbin, he's someone in the industry as well that's quite well known. He was heavily involved in that project and kind of getting us on board of how collaboration should work. And it was, I think it was 12 buildings overall. So it was quite a complex project and we did novice works and proper coordination. So I think at that time, I realised that I had a natural flair for picking up software. I probably always did because I did Photoshop during my A-levels. Okay. So I've always loved technology. I studied maths and physics for A-levels as well as art. So there's a lot of things that came very natural to me in the BIM space. It also was like, naturally I'm quite an inquisitive person. I love learning. That's something that drives me every day. So being in this space of like what's emerging, where things are going, even in 2013, I think I'd started messing with Revit in 2010. So like I actually was getting to see the real side of BIM in 2013 because it was an actual UK BIM framework project. So that was brilliant. And then I realised that my strengths probably were more in that space than more in the project delivery side. I'm quite a controlled person.
It's good.
And I don't think you could be a working mum if you weren't, like, reality. So yeah, in the project management space, yeah. So I think it just sat well and it fitted my skills and I was getting really good experience. I joined HMM as a BIM coordinator under Aaron Perry, learned loads from Aaron. And we had such a fantastic team. And then I was at HMM for quite a long time. And then I went to Bureau Happold, which is Alan, Mike, Des, again, industry leaders. And then I was at Bureaus. I learned so much in 2 years at Bureaus. Unreal, delivered like massive amount of large scale projects. It was definitely a good wake up call to how large scale projects were delivered, and then moved to Grimshaw.
Awesome. So that's you've learned at 4 very good places around BIM, I would say. So when you think how we deliver projects today, do you believe BIM's working? Or maybe from your opinion, but it would also be interesting to go talk around the elephant in the room is that some people also find BIM quite hard from a process point of view, all the digital tools. So it'd be interesting to see your view on why it's working at the 4 places you've been versus maybe...
I'd say that it's kind of 2 strands. So based on my experience and when I'm talking on panels and stuff at London Build and Future Build and other places, there's elements that are working. There's been a lot of write-ups recently about there is an education that I'm just not a Revit queen. You know, someone jokes and calls me BIM queen. But I think that there's a real education needed around what BIM or the delivery of the digital delivery of projects really means. And I think that's where things are falling down. I think that there is so many tools out there at the moment, so many tools for all the various REBA stages, that people are quite overwhelmed anyway. Deadlines are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, especially architecture side. So having been at HMM, left, went to multidisciplinary and came back into architecture, I can really see where there's gaps in knowledge and gaps in scope and gaps in client education of what they need. And then as you progress through the project, sometimes you get a tier 1 contractor who knows exactly what they want, and then you have no choice but to deliver that post stage 4. Whether you've been paid to do it or appointed to do it or anything else, it does not matter, because you're having to do it because they need the data. So I think that's a failure point in my opinion at the moment, because I think a lot of people are hard done by is not the right word, but a lot of people are challenged on fee because they've never had the fee to do it in the beginning.
Is there a common trend on these gaps that you're seeing?
And I think through my Woman in BIM mentoring, I've had so many instances where I've been mentoring. I try to mentor post like mums coming back into the space. That's kind of my place that I want to mentor, and I want to try and retain mums who are mid-level and senior. I want to hold on to them for dear life in our industry, because it's not easy to stay in. But a lot of like new graduates that come out that have maybe done an undergrad, maybe qualified as an architect, transitioned into BIM, and then all of a sudden they're told that they're the BIM manager on a ISO 19650 project, and they have no capabilities, no understanding of what that means. Right. And I think that's somewhere that's a failure point as well. And my personal opinion is that there needs to be a lot more education done around what 19650 means to project leaders. We're doing that at Grimshaw, but that has been something that I do want to say about this podcast today is this will be a simple language podcast. So if anybody really wants tech language, this is not your place.
Helps me understand, so that's fine.
It's okay. Yeah. I think that the another challenge is the people that are coming in disrupting tend to be from tech backgrounds. And there's a lot of tech language used, a lot of hardware language about how software is built, and it can really alienate project leaders, architects, quantity surveyors, like everybody that needs to collaborate to deliver a project can get alienated so quickly if you don't have the simple use of language on projects. Just
to touch on the education bit, which is interesting, both on the women in BIM part, but also general education. As you said, there's more and more tools coming in. There's obviously ISO standards and that sort as well. So, I know one part of women in BIM is, like you said, returning mothers. They may go off for 9 months, maybe 12 months, and the industry could have moved a long way. So therefore, it's bringing them back into education. But whether you stayed in or not, the industry continues to move with the amount of tools, especially development AI and all the other bits as well. So it'd be interesting how you approach the continual education piece, because that's what I see as the core of it. Because like you said, is that there's a lot to understand, but also it's going to be continuous education because it's not standing still. So how do you approach that, both for either women on BIM coming back, but also for everyone else?
So my thing is with the women BIM ladies, anybody that I mentor is like, you cannot stop. That's the reality. If you want to be in this space, you cannot stop. And that's the hard thing. So I do a lot of education even in work. So people will know, like, I'm really active on LinkedIn. The reason I'm so active on LinkedIn is because I'm absorbing it when I'm on the train. I'm reading articles. My notes on my phone has like maybe 200 or 300 thought pieces that I want to do at some point. Wow. So I'm constantly in that evolving, learning. You live and breathe it. And the people that have really succeeded in this space live and breathe it. And you can see it clear as day. The thing that I say to my team And I think this is the education, is architecture's a long time. It takes a long time to be a qualified architect. If you transition into that BIM space and you've already done 5 to 7 years of architecture studies, then you come into the BIM space and you still start as a coordinator. It's a big hit to your ego to know that you need to start at that coordinator level. You will never be a good BIM manager if you have not done the groundwork for a coordinator. Like, majority of my role is risk, looking at digital risk, looking at where is there an opportunity that there's scope creep. So, and I learned that so intensively at bureaus. They're so good at that. Like, and May, to be fair, I used to send stuff to May all the time, and I'd be like, and sure, and she was like, Mairéad, get rid of this word.
Right, got you.
And it's really, really good to have had these people in my career to date, because they've had massive effects on it. And the fact that, and I'm trying to now do that to my team, to the women in BIM ladies that I'm involved with and everything else. But that coordinator, like, I really think, and Aaron Perry said it to me, you need, like, you don't want to put a time scale on it, but I genuinely think like 4 years of a coordinator level, and then you can climb a bit quicker to like BIM manager and everything else. The other thing to really hit home is the Woman in BIM survey was, there's 80 terms for what we do. There's 80 titles globally for what we do.
Wow.
80. And I feel very frustrated because I have been pigeonholed at conferences saying, oh, you wouldn't understand application stacks because you're a BIM leader. And I'm just like, well, actually, I write the application stacks. So I was just like, yeah, you know, I look after the licenses. And then they're like, what, you're BIM? And I'm just like, oh, this, I don't want to say ignorance. But it's, again, the industry, because it's so complex. I really think we just need to keep on simplifying it and making it a bit more simple rather than making it more complex, because, yeah, you lose people along the way.
Just on, like you said there, is that, you know, you got pigeonholed or something, and we talked about debunking some myths around BIM, where BIM is Revit and things like that. So this comes a long way into both of that as well, right? So how, you know, you just said there, actually, I write the application. How do we make it simpler? Have you got a view on it, you know, or something you're applying today to make it simpler so, you know, across the board we can collaborate better?
I think that Jonathan made a really good point to me. One day I was chatting to him about going outside of our network. And like, it really hit home with me. I think we're really good at sharing our knowledge within the industry. I don't think we're very good at sharing our knowledge outside of the industry. And I think it's that shift, that it is very complex. But just for example, just say a client owns a stadium and they want to redevelop their stadium and they want to do a master plan of it or anything else. Like, who out there should really be educating that client around what digital capabilities that they could get back post-occupancy? So there is people out there that's doing it, but I think it's really important that your project manager lets them know that there's digital needs for the project. Your quantity surveyor mentions the digital needs for the project. Like, that there's this, like, oh, that's not my circus, not my monkeys kind of thing, you know, like, that's nothing to do with me. And that attitude, oh, the digital side has nothing to do with me, needs to shift, because we're working in a digital first world. Like, some schools are digital first. You know, your children will be growing up only knowing how to use a tablet, you know, and it's quite scary.
Yeah.
And I think as well, being a mum to a 5-year-old who's in the school system, there's a lot of digital transformation that's really needed in the school systems, in my opinion. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how they're in a digital first kind of life, that as the architecture, engineering, construction sector, we really need to like push the boundaries to catch up with the other like manufacturing disciplines, everything else. Like, there's a way to go, and there's going to be a lot of disruption in the next 10 years. Do you think BIM's gone? It's a bit of a debate, I guess. Do you think it's gone too digital, too complicated? So I think when BIM originated, 12 years ago, it's all around this promise of building faster, smarter, cheaper, and more carbon neutral in a sense.
And I suppose the debate today, has it achieved that? And that's where, people look at lots of the emerging things around digital twins to actually try and get some of that out. But do you think that BIM's become a bit stagnant or stalled?
Again, two trains of thought. I think, like what you mentioned in the intro about the collaboration, one single source of truth, I think, yes, there's a lot of processes that have been really good. And there is, on a lot of projects that we use, there is only one. I know that I'm talking from Grimshaw's experience, which is very unique, and we deliver data as deliverables and projects. So it is as does bureaus, as does some of the other kind of leading architectural and consultancies. So I think the processes are really good to those that know them. I think the challenge is there's a lot of work behind the scenes that is really good, that's positive and working in the right way. The challenge is I don't know if all the people and projects know the good processes that are in place. So, like, for example, we might be doing a multidisciplinary ISO 19650 project. It's really good processes in place, MIDP, like various good things, single sources of truth, hosted in the cloud, massive amount of collaboration on cloud collaboration and all that. The negative is it's one vendor, so high licenses. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Personal opinion, and so that's one.
I think most people's opinion on
that. That's one point. The other point would be it nearly is siloed. So you still have this like, oh, your design technology team or your BIM team, you sort out all that, and I'm just like, this is a project management and delivery thing. This is not just BIM. So there's challenges around that, definitely. I do think as we migrate into this BIM 2.0 where things are cloud-based, I do think as well that like Built and Smart are trying to drive positive, like single source of truth with IFCs and like them elements. I think that's really positive. I am someone that tends to see the positive picture. So I think the other side of it is it does still seem fragmented.
Yeah.
And I really feel quite passionate about, no, that's BIM, no, that's information management. And I'm just like, no, well, technically, like it's all the same, and they do require different roles. And I think that's the other thing. So much complexity around it.
Yeah. And BIM 2.0, I think it talks around some of the best things that BIM could be, digital twins, AI workflows, cloud collaboration, if you just mentioned there. But do you see a common disconnect of people you're speaking to within the industry? And maybe not what you're doing, because you're doing it very successfully, but it seems to be a disconnect about how we're talking about BIM and then how it's actually used. Do you see there's a big disconnect within the industry, or?
Yeah, there is. So what happens because Grimshaw works in such a range of sectors and project scales. So our large scale projects, I feel the one that we've done most recently has went quite well, but the client knew exactly what they were asking for. It had all the BIM documentation. They have a client BIM team. So that's
how common is that, out of interest?
Not common.
Okay, fine.
Not common. I've probably worked on maybe 3 or 4 or 5 projects that have been like that. So it's not common on the scale of number of projects that you work on during my time at Grimshaw, that is. And then you have your mid-level, mid-scale kind of projects where the client's like, do BIM. And you're just like, we haven't accounted for that in our phase. And then you're kind of in this rock and a hard place because you're working on a cloud platform. So you need everybody, like you need the collaboration from all stakeholders. So then I'm like, we've started doing like a digital collaboration strategy manual, because I'm like, it can't be in thin air, like we need to collaborate in a cloud platform. So yeah, so then you end up in this, like, I've started calling them tiers, but that's within Grimshaw. I've started being like, this is tier 1, this is tier 2, this is tier 3, this is tier 4, just to like, and then I've done like cheat sheets.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just for my own benefit, so I can be like, and I haven't actually rolled that out, but there's like, we're doing BIM different like education pieces. During my time at Bureaus, we did this, which was actually very successful. So the thing that I would say is for your like smaller scales, and people aren't really seeing the benefits of BIM because it is, with the current software that exists, it takes a long time to educate people onto the complexity of the software, how the software works, everything else. I always said it takes someone at least 2 years to learn the basics of a tool called Revit, but it really does. And then when you throw in data as deliverables in a project, that's a massively steep learning curve for some people. So I think that there is a lot of challenges. Yeah.
Is part of it there? Because you mentioned around your 4 projects and someone's come to the table, clearly what they want, right? It's part of our responsibility as AEC firms to actually bring the customer a little bit more on the journey around educating them in the early stages before we did our fees and everything like that around what BIM could be used, but the benefits and why use it or apply it. Is there some remit for that?
I definitely think there is, but the challenge is that Grimshaw is bespoke. That is their USP. Like one of their USPs is they deal with very complex type projects and deliver them to a really high standard. Everything is bespoke. So there isn't a one size fits all. And I think that has been the challenge, that people 20 years ago or whatever, you could standardize CAD. You could standardize how you delivered. You could build certain things that standardized it. Whereas BIM is a response to a project. You can't really standardize it. You can through the 19650, through IFCs, through Building Smart. What the people are driving are the elements that you can standardize. But the rationale is that sometimes we're in Rhino for stages 2 to 3. Like you're still manipulating Rhino halfway through stage 3, and you're still then trying to push parameter data into a Rhino. Like, there's a lot of complexity. So there really isn't a one size fits all. And that's the education that I'm trying to educate people, is like, it's the needs of your organization. It's the needs of, you need to hire an information manager that'll sit down and write you documentation that fits the needs of your organization. And so that's one part. The other part is for AEC organizations. You cannot have a BIM coordinator doing a strategy role. I have seen a lot on LinkedIn recently around BIM manager, 2 years experience, will be writing strategy. And I was just like, what?
Is that because of budget lines?
I think it's both. It's lack of understanding of what the BIM role is, because it's called digital design leader, it's called design technology leader, it's called BIM lead,
and the 75 others.
I've had on this podcast we'll talk about female challenges. I've interviewed 3 men that turned around and says, obviously I'm interviewing to be your leader, when it was for a BIM manager role. 3 men.
Wow. Yeah, because we're going to come into women in a bit of a sec, for sure.
I was just like, would this happen in another instance? So even though my title's BIM Lead Europe and Middle East, they genuinely thought that they would be my manager because it was a BIM manager role.
So let's go into women in BIM now, because I think that's quite a good point of segue. And you're obviously a visible leader in this stage. We've talked a lot off the podcast around women in BIM and the purpose behind it and your education piece. But it'd be key to understand. I know it's come a long way since you've been involved, and you're part of the big mentoring group. And I know you're an advocate for driving more mentors in it, and as you mentioned today, is supporting more women in BIM. Is what else needs to change? Because it's obviously not there quite yet. You've got a clear vision, I suppose, and a key advocate of where it wants to be. So it'd be interesting to see what needs to be changed, and what people need to be aware of when supporting women in not just BIM but women within the AEC industry as well.
Yeah, it's quite an open question. So, right. So there's a couple of things that I think that can make a big difference. Personal opinion. This is outside of my Grimshaw role. This is woman in BIM representation right now. I think there's things that have been really, really positive is that Rebecca's done an incredible job. There's 15,000 members at the moment on LinkedIn. Like, it's unreal. Wow. There's, I think, over 100 regional leads globally. We have events all over the world. it's becoming quite big globally, which is Marie has done a fantastic job, which is Marie is vice chair. So there's a couple of things that I would recommend is it's not just about women, it's about diversity and inclusion in general. So as a person that has been in the industry for quite some time, so my family, I've grown up on site. Like I was on site first when I was 3. Like my family's in the building trade.
Wow.
Very passionate about actually building buildings or building projects, which is probably why Grimshaw is such a good fit for me from working. So I think the thing is, it's like giving women the opportunity. So things that help though, and this isn't about gender. I have a consultant on our team temporarily at the moment. He has said to me, I am one of the few organisations that he has worked for that is totally flexible in the mornings for him to drop off his kid.
Amazing.
Which is unreal. You're a parent, you know with this. So Grimshaw's brilliant in the fact that we have core hours from 10 to 4. That's like, but I'm on a call tonight at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So
after putting the kids to bed,
After putting the kids to bed, and you could be logging on a Saturday, which is not great, but that's the reality in short. I think that it's given the opportunity, setting up things like core hours. I do think there needs to be something done with leave, because this half-term, Christmas, summer holidays, like there needs to be some, either that we're allowed to have more unpaid leave or something, because it currently doesn't work and it's really, really challenging. We're coming off to the back of half term where I have had no time off. My child was mentally and physically exhausted because he started in the new school year. We're all exhausted, but I'm going into like a quite intense project deliverable phase again. Even though I'm not on projects directly, it's still my team. You're still managing the team, you're mentoring the team. So it's given women the opportunity. It's given them the visibility to be on boards, on not-for-profit initiatives, speaking at conferences, giving them that time to speak at conferences, attend panels, go to networking events, hold networking events during the day. So there's a thing called the Circle Partnership, which do a quarterly catch-up, which is a Zoom or Teams meeting once a quarter, where you sit and you mingle through Teams and you meet people that's in the AEC industry at mid-level. They've done a brilliant thing there with the Circle Partnership. I've applied to be a mentor in that space as well, because I think it's really good. I think the thing is being a mentor, no matter what your gender is, for organisations such as the Circle Partnership, Women in BIM. I personally feel like there's a need for a non-gender specific mentoring organisation. I really think there needs, because I have people in my team that are male and they don't have any mentoring opportunities in the same way they do within Grimshaw, but not externally. So it's having the opportunity to speak on panels. The architectural specific industry, I think, can still be quite techy, personally, and tends to have that tech kind of approach. And I think it's important that people realise that it's not, other genders can be in that space.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's women in tech is a thing as well, right? And, you know, us from in a tech world, we see there is a diversity challenge in both AEC and tech, right? Because, like you said, it is male dominant for both. Still understanding why, I suppose that comes with core learning in the early years and schools and things like that.
The reason is there's a fall off at 43. That is the fundamentals. To try and if you are a lady that has had a kid, you've lost, the rule of thumb is you lose 2 years for every maternity you take, which is 2 years of your career progression. I am very outspoken and I am very strong with the Woman in BIM a regional lead point. I want to start running more events that are around how to grow in confidence, how to push yourself forward, be on panels, be on podcasts, be the leader that you've never seen. And I think it's really, really important that organisations hold on to their senior leadership that are female, that are struggling, that do have weeks, that may have more sick days because they're dealing with a child. But there is the other side, that as women, we also have to play our part and not take the hand either. Like, so there's a fine line.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. That's just, I say my wife's a superhuman. You know, she could get 30 minutes of sleep and still have to function with 2 kids and the rest of the day, all those elements. But you know, you might have that, and then you'll have, like you said, you're then going into a big project, right? So I think the hard conversation, it feels like they have to do that plus extra learning to stay at the same pace.
That is the reality. And I think that's the reason why we have a situation at the moment where there's so many women experiencing burnout, because we are thankfully, I would say in my situation, my husband and I is a lot more 50-50, which I think is the only reason that I'm able to do the career that I'm currently able to do. But women with children, I think that's the important thing that I have to stress here. It's not gender specific. It's more about being parents. So in a female context, if you are a parent and you're doing the lion's share, it's a difficult place to be. And there'll be every 8 weeks I'll crash and burn. And like the reality is that weekend I need to pull back. I need to do my yoga, do my restorative yoga, do my open water swimming, do whatever I need to do to then go at that 150% pace for the next 3 months. Yeah. And I think that education isn't known, or there isn't an understanding as to why so many women are hitting burnout in their 40s. Like, it's not even age specific, but it's like you're carrying such an additional load. Being a parent, the school system, like we've 10 minutes to get the child into school in the morning. 10 minutes. After that, you're marked late. You're marked late 15 times. You're referred to local authority.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Welcome to the school system. So it does not facilitate working mums, and the reality is that what I can see is it's grandparents that are picking up that extra load. And if you don't have the grandparents, or you don't have that extra support network, you are managing that between the two of you. You throw chronic illnesses or anything else into that mix, it is not the easiest thing to do. And I think our generation, or my generation of this millennial that was like promised the world, saying you can be it all, you can be at the top of your game, you can have the kids, you can have the big car, you can have the big house, that is not accurate. And I think to any young girls coming through, I would just be like, figure out, so something I do with the team and what I do in a mentoring capacity is like, figure out where you want to be in 6 months. Definitely. Like 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and include, so mine says I want to be running for 10Ks next year. I want to be doing my trail running for 4 times next year, and figure out what you need to do in order to get yourself that. If you want to be an innovator in the AEC space, you need to be at the forefront. You need to be speaking on panels. You need to be testing BIM 2.0 products at the weekends. You will not get that time in your workplace, because as a BIM coordinator or manager,
producing output, right?
You're producing deliverables. And in our industry, the deliverables time is getting shrank. And again, which is then, it's not just females that are hitting burnout, it's everybody within our, and I think that there's something that needs to be done around fees. Like, so there's a lot of efficiencies through BIM that are coming into this environment. But instead of maybe making the client aware of the efficiencies, I think there needs to be more time given back to the project teams, that the work is properly QA'd, especially in terms of digital outputs. If you're delivering schedules now through BIM models and everything else, there needs to be 2 to 3 weeks of QA time. And that is something I'm quite passionate about. Don't be handing over models that no one's had a look at, because as soon as you get to site, you're liable.
It happens a lot there, right?
It happens a lot, and it's something that, it's the lack of understanding of the data, what the data means that you're handing over. Again, it's very, very complex, and even me that tries to translate it into like simple terms, sometimes you can just see people just getting glazed over, and I'm like, oh, I've lost them.
Start again. Start
again. So, and then I end up taking a sketch pad and I'm like, right, this is what we used to do in the 90s. This is what we do in 2000s. This is what we're doing now. This is what we did 2 years ago, which is totally different. So like, it's just a different space.
No.
And then you have someone up on LinkedIn that then starts saying BIM equals Revit. And I'm just like, other people are seeing this.
Well, on the LinkedIn post, I think I mentioned to you offline, is that, we can't talk about the future of BIM without, talking around AI, digital twins. And I know Andrew was on our podcast last time, talked around, he saw a image of a digital twin and BIM together and someone just pouring gasoline on each other. But it'd be interesting, I suppose, your view of, AI's buzzword everywhere. Everyone's looking to apply it more. And then not the immersion, but the adoption more of digital twins, how that's going to affect the BIM processes.
So my view, personal, is that we need to stop thinking of the terminology, is my view. It's about humans, it's about people, it's about project teams, it's about outcome-based. So our outcomes and Grimshaw specifically is either infrastructure projects or large-scale projects or very, very complex parametric model buildings. So it's human, there's a thing with Grimshaw is that we use technology to enable design. That is 100% the truth. So I think that all organizations need to think about that and figure out what works for them as an organization. With regards to how we work in the future, I have spoke about this previously in a podcast, but I don't know how to articulate it in the way that it probably needs to, but I'm going to give it a go. So in short, everything that you do now, whether it's your banking or anything else, is data. It's data-based and it's data. So all that BIM really is linking data and geometry. That is all BIM is, using processes to hand over that information at various points through a project lifecycle. So we need to stop alienating people with all the different terminologies and just be like, ask your client, what is it you need? What is it you want at the end of this in terms of outcomes? What are you going to use your data for? You also need to realize that you can't have someone use whatever application stack they're going to use to input data that then is going to live in that environment to the very end and be like an outcome and a handover. You need to have people that are trained, have an ability to put in clean data that then can be used for efficiency tools such as automation, everything else throughout the project's life cycle. I hope that's not techy.
No, articulate. Well, I understood it, so hopefully most people would say.
Something I think that as a group, as an industry, that it really is about information, data. People have adapted and used iPhones. People do online banking. Digital transformation isn't unique to our sector. Fair enough, we use complex projects and everything else, but there shouldn't be all these barriers. That's nothing to do with me. You don't turn around to someone and say, oh, you need to go in person to a bank because you can't use an app. So it's kind of working together, I would say, actually living the collaboration on projects, understanding that we now deliver digitally on projects. Whatever the needs of the project, it will be delivered digitally, and your client will want a digital outcome.
And the digital transformation, and I suppose BIM as well, is that how far do you think it can actually take us? Because I think when I said a question earlier around that, when it started, it talked about how we're going to be helping us a lot more with the carbon neutral sort of achievement. And now I believe there's more pressure on the AEC industry now, especially up to 2060, where the population is growing at such a rate that we need to build faster and smarter, but also to a point where we don't burn the Earth at the same time, right? So I think, can BIM actually help us achieve these goals?
100%.
Right? Okay.
100%. So this is the thing, I don't think it's just BIM. I think it again is that innovation of AEC tools, and ISO, the information management processes and the smart buildings processes. It's basically coming together rather than working in silos. It's like that amalgamation. So in Grimshaw, I would say we're probably a good test case that is doing this, because at the beginning of a project, so Shahrazad, she's within the design technology team. She's part of Innovate UK's environmental group. for using design technology for good, basically. So we're very lucky to have her in-house. We also have Des Fagan, who is basically on secondment for AI and like driving AI within design technology. So we've very good people within our organisation. With regards to like sustainability and net zero, what within our team environment is what we're trying to do is build decent, clean models so that at stage 3, their models are still pretty amazing. And stage 4, they're unreal. So at Grimshaw, we have an in-house specs team. Michaela's brilliant and her team's great. And we have started, so you originally have Kobe data. Are you familiar with Kobe? And you have your IFC parameters and everything else. So on some projects that are extremely complex, you will have clients that are like, this is my list of parameters that I want at the end of the project. So at all the various stages, I want you to be recording them parameters and that data. So basically on the projects where we're starting to do recording of data, which like there is several now, it's kind of, I'm trying to push it as like our business as usual approach. So that data you're having BIM models, whatever software you're using, BIM models from stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 that are extremely rich and clean, accurate data. So that's a lot of information that you can do analysis on that then can drive future design. So looking at like embodied carbon, looking at all the various information around your facade, where should we be doing saving exercises and everything else in terms of sustainability. The other thing I think is, which is something I'm quite passionate about, but I haven't done any real work on it, it's looking at existing buildings. Looking how they're scanned and that data is recorded. There's so many smart tools out there at the moment for scanning, unreal, that then can like do your scan and then use AI to basically match what it is. And then basically you're getting quite a rich model to begin with. You integrate that with a rich, clean design model. That's very, very, very valuable data.
But that relates a lot of data after project, right? And some people I hear from, it's very hard to get the data after the building fact, right?
So this is the thing, and I think this is why our experience is unique at Grimshaw, because we're doing delivery. So we're doing data drops.
Oh, okay.
Throughout the project's life cycle. I don't know if that's happening in all organisations yet, because I started doing it at bureaus. We're now doing it at Grimshaw, and I know Grimshaw had been doing it for several years, but it's becoming more than the norm. Foster's does it as well, because I've worked with them on projects. So your data drops. So I think the thing is, in Grimshaw, it's a unique architectural practice in the fact that we go from concept through to completion. We're not just a design-only architect. We actually do the buildings. So your data drops at the various stages do actually go through the project, which industry-wise, I don't know if that's happening in a lot of other practices. Probably not.
No.
And which is why I probably have a lot more frustration, because I'm seeing as we get to stage 4 and stage 5 where data's getting lost. And I'm already, me and the team have done so much work so that data didn't get lost. So migrating platforms, CDEs, post stage 4, stage 5, understand why it happens. But I would really prefer if we would know earlier in the project. And that's the thing. I don't know if in industry, if we can do this, but I was like, I would really like to start seeing at stage 5, if the client has an idea, so say they've done 4 projects already, and they kind of have a rough idea who the project team's going to be, and they've a rough idea who the tier 1 contractor is going to be. I'd love to see the tier 1 contractor's BIM manager in a meeting at the beginning of stage 4. So then I'd be like, well, what do you need? And then basically you deliver it, and then you hand over something. So yeah,
that's really good. I thought I'd finish with one last question, because you talked a little bit about something you'd like to see. But looking ahead, I suppose, what are you most hopeful to see? What are you most excited or you're seeing? I would say that BIM's going to develop into over the next, say, it could be 3, 5, 10 years. Where would you like it to go?
So I think there's a couple of things. I'm excited to see the new new opportunities that come into the industry. So I think that there'll be, my husband's a data analyst and data governance person. I think
that's handy.
Yeah, that's handy. We chat a lot about work.
Yeah.
I think that there'll be a lot more roles in that space. I think I'm quite looking forward to seeing like proper Power BI dashboarding and health checks and them sort of things becoming natural norm on projects, and that the client, so we share a lot of our like health check dashboards and on reports. Kind of would like to see that become the norm, because I think that would really help educate the architectural and design teams if you can visually see in a visual representation what the data looks like, even like errors and that sort of thing, or challenges that you've faced. I think that we'll be moving towards cloud-based design tools. I think that's kind of going to be the norm. How that transition happens, I do not know, but I think that there'll be also roles out there that will be basically design technology experts that educate architectural companies and engineer companies, construction companies, that are kind of consultants, that are basically digital transformation consultants, that look at that organisation and say, these are the tools that are best fit for your needs of your projects. So if you're residential based, this is your tech stack for residential type projects. I think like I'm trying to build that within Grimshaw. So we have called design technology guides, and then within the guides, I'm like, this is your typical tech stack for that project. So that'll be interesting.
I think that's needed, yeah.
It really need it. But then some of the tools aren't quite there yet. So it'll be really interesting to see how that Rhino integration into Revit, how that parametric, like Grasshopper, Rhino, Revit, IFC data, how that workflow translates and changes in the next couple of years. What I would like to see more is that the new startups that are in that space are looking at building smart, looking at IFC, like looking at what interoperability like we need as part of the design team, not yet another tool that's not fit for purpose that you need to do another plugin with. Like I would like refined application stacks that
that's definitely needed.
Definitely needed. And I also think that the pricing model, so either the clients need some education that we're spending all this money, and I would really, really like to see architects' fees match engineers. Personal opinion, because I think architects are getting the short end of the stick at the moment. I love architecture, I really do. They do, like, architects are extremely talented people, extremely talented, and they've studied a long time and they spent a lot of time in industry to get to where they've got. If a lot of people keep on leaving at the rate at which they're leaving, you're not going to have the talent that exists, like stay in the industry. And yeah, more collaboration in general, and more for like designing good. I love the Elizabeth line, I genuinely do. I think Grimshaw did a fantastic job on it. You don't mind being in it. I refuse to get another tube line at the moment. My husband's laughing. He's just like, you're always on about the Elizabeth line. I'm like, I don't want to get any other tube in the morning. But it's like building decent spaces that humans want to be in. And my child joked recently, and we were at a fireworks thing, and he was telling someone that Mummy built London Bridge.
That's great.
I was like, no, Ty, I did not build London Bridge. But I was like, I want to be building buildings that your child is talking about. You know,
no, that's really good. Look, Mairéad, it's been amazing to have you on. I think you've covered a lot of hot topics, and you know, I've thrown some grenades your way, which you've answered absolutely perfect. And I just want to say thank you both for coming on, the honesty and giving the insight, but also big thing about women in BIM. If those that didn't know about it before, hopefully do have a good understanding today. But I think both of us would highly recommend, join that space, join like-minded people to actually have some support around it as well. But No, it's been really good to have you on. So thank you for covering everything. And yeah, look forward to seeing the future of where you go and also BIM with it as well.
Thank you. The thing that I'll say about Women in BIM is if you are interested in having any of the Women in BIM on panels or podcasts or anything, just reach out to them and you can follow them on LinkedIn. And shout out to Rebecca for setting it up in the first place. She's done a fantastic job.
We'll have to have him on here. So that's great.
Yes, a good plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of what's been a powerful and necessary conversation. A huge thank you to Mairéad for offering clarity in a space that's often overcomplicated and for reminding us that BIM's true potential lies far beyond models and mandates. We heard today that while the technology is evolving, it's the mindset, the leadership and the way we deliver that still needs to catch up. BIM can and should be the foundation for better collaboration, better data and better buildings, but only if we're willing to challenge old habits and rethink the way we work. This episode was a reminder that progress doesn't come from software alone. It comes from culture, curiosity, and the courage to do things differently. You've been listening to the AEC Innovators Circle, a podcast designed to explore the trends, topics, and technologies shaping the future of the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. Here, we are speaking with the boldest minds, redefining what's possible in the built environment. I'm your host, Karl Smith. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.